Amara looked him in the eye. I have moved back in, Obina. We are still married, and until we are officially divorced, I will live here. Also, Obina, you and your wife will have to leave the master bedroom for me and move to another smaller room. Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Umueze, there were two powerful families, the Okafors and the Rolands. Both families were well respected and known for their success in business. Chief Okafor and Chief Roland have been friends for many years, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. One warm evening, the Okafors invited the Rolands over for a family dinner. The air was filled with the aroma of Nigerian dishes like jollof rice, pounded yam, and egusi soup. The children of both families were present at the dinner. Obina Okafor, a bright and ambitious 20-year-old, and Amara Roland, a cheerful and kind-hearted 16-year-old, sat at the table with their parents. As the adults talked business, discussing potential deals and opportunities, an idea began to form in Chief Okafor's mind. He turned to Chief Roland and said, "Why not let our bond grow even stronger? What if we promise that our children, Obina and Amara, will marry each other when Amara turns 18? Chief Roland's eyes sparkled with interest. "That sounds like a wonderful idea, my friend. It will ensure that our families remain close and our businesses continue to thrive together." The mothers smiled and nodded in agreement. They were excited about the prospect of their children getting married and the families becoming even more united. Obina and Amara glanced at each other, a mixture of surprise and curiosity in their eyes. They had always known each other as family friends, but the idea of marriage was something new and unexpected. Amara, still young and full of dreams, wondered what the future would hold. As the evening went on, the parents continued to discuss their plans. Little did they know that the promise made that night would set in motion a series of events that would change their lives forever. 2 years later, the long-awaited wedding took place. Obina and Amara were married in a grand ceremony attended by friends and family and notable figures from all over the world. Despite the joyful celebration, there was an undercurrent of tension that only Obina and Amara could feel. Amara was now 18 years old, but she didn't really understand what love meant. She felt both excited and scared about her new life. Obina, however, was not happy at all. He loved another woman named Ngozi, who was fun and full of life. Obina had tried to tell his father about his feelings for Ngozi and even introduced her to him, but Chief Okafor, his father, insisted on keeping the promise made to the Roland family. Obina even thought about running away with Ngozi and giving up his inheritance, but Ngozi told him not to. She said, "You can't give up everything. Just marry Amara for a while, and when you get your inheritance from your dad, you can divorce her and then we can get married." After the wedding, Obina distanced himself from Amara. On their first night together, he looked her in the eyes and said, "Amara, do not force anything between us. I do not love you and I never will. My heart belongs to someone else." Amara was taken aback by his harsh words but said nothing. She had always been timid and introverted, unsure of how to stand up for herself. She hoped that with time, Obina's feelings might change. Obina, however, was determined. He spent most of his time away from home, often with Ngozi. They would go out partying, enjoying life, while Amara was left alone in their large empty house. She felt like a stranger in her own home, unwanted and unloved. Whenever Amara tried to get close to Obina, he would insult her, calling her names and making her feel small. Sometimes, at the slightest provocation, he would even beat her up. Despite her beauty, which Obina could not deny, he saw her as not fitting of being his ideal partner. To him, Amara was too timid, too quiet, and not like the outgoing and fun-loving Ngozi. Amara spent her days trying to make the best of her situation. She would cook and clean, hoping that one day Obina might appreciate her effort. But no matter what she did, Obina remained cold and distant. He only saw her as a burden, a mistake forced upon him by his family's promise. But deep inside Amara's heart, A small seed of hope began to grow. She believed that one day things could change. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Amara's life became a living nightmare. She had not told her family about the abuse, hoping that things would get better and that she could make her marriage work and make her father proud. But the situation only grew worse. One evening, Obinna brought Ngozi home. The moment they walked through the door, the atmosphere in the house changed. Ngozi was confident, outspoken, and she made no effort to hide her disdain for Amara. Obinna's eyes followed Ngozi's every move, his love for her evident even in the way he smiled at her and the way he touched her. They smiled, whispered sweet words, and even slept in the same room, leaving Amara to feel like a ghost in her home. Ngozi moved in permanently and made Amara's life a living hell. "Look at you, Amara, still here, still useless," Ngozi sneered one evening as Amara was preparing dinner. "Obinna, why do you even still keep her around? She's just a burden." Obinna sat at the dining table, watching Amara with cold eyes. "You heard her, Amara. You are so useless. Go back to your parents. I don't love you. I never did," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. Amara's heart ached with every word, but she forced a smile, nodding silently. She still believed that if she endured, things would change. She continued to cook and serve them. Whenever anyone from either family visited, they would all sit together laughing and talking as if everything was perfect. "Everything is fine," Obinna would always say with a forced grin whenever his family members asked. "Amara is just a bit shy, that's all." But behind closed doors, the torment continued. Obinna and Ngozi would make her life miserable. They would insult her, make her cook for them, and call her names that tore at her soul. Obinna's strategy was clear. He did not want to be the one to chase her out of the house. Instead, he wanted to break her spirit, push her to pack her bags and live on her own. One hot afternoon, as the sun beat down on the city, Obinna sat in the living room, legs stretched out, flipping through a magazine. Ngozi was beside him, her laughter echoing through the room. Amara walked in with a tray of tea in her hands, trembling. "Here's your tea," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Ngozi grabbed the tray, spilling some tea on the floor. "Oh, look at this clumsy girl. She can't even carry a tray properly. Obinna, why don't you just throw her out? She's a disgrace." Obinna looked at Amara, his eyes cold and unfeeling. "Amara, you are just a shadow in my life, a nuisance. Why don't you go back to your parents? You are not needed here." Amara's eyes welled up with tears, but she held them back, determined not to show weakness. "I will stay. I will make this work," she said. Obinna stood up, his chair screeching against the floor. He walked up to her, his face inches from hers. "Listen, Amara, you are making it harder for yourself. Pack your bags and leave. This is not your home. You never belonged here." Amara took a step back, her heart pounding. "I will not leave. I believe that you will see me differently. I will not give up on us." Ngozi snorted, crossing her arms. "You are delusional, Amara. You think you can change anything here? This is not a fairy tale. This is real life, and in real life you are nothing but a joke." As the days turned into weeks, the tension in the house became unbearable. Obinna's constant taunts, Ngozi's cruel remarks, and the ever-present feeling of loneliness drove Amara to the brink. 6 months after their wedding, the tension in the house reached its breaking point. One day, Ngozi deliberately messed up the toilet, leaving it in a horrible state. She did this with one goal in mind: to provoke Amara. "Amara!" Ngozi's voice rang through the house. "Come here and clean up this mess." Amara walked in to the room and saw the disaster Ngozi had created. Her patience, already worn thin, finally snapped. "Clean it yourself, Ngozi," she said, her voice firm. "You are a dirty pig." Ngozi's eyes widened in shock. "What did you just call me?" She raised her hand to slap Amara, but Amara grabbed her wrist mid-air and pushed her onto the bed. "I won't take your insults anymore," Amara said, her voice trembling with anger. She turned and walked out of the room, leaving Ngozi fuming. When Obinna returned home, Ngozi wasted no time in telling him her version of the story. "Obinna, Amara beat me," she cried, showing him the self-inflicted marks on her arms. "She pushed me and called me horrible names." Obinna's face turned red with rage. "Amara!" he called her name. Amara rushed to him, her heart pounding. "Yes, Obinna." "Are you stupid? Why would you beat my wife?" Obinna shouted, his eyes blazing. Before Amara could explain, he slapped her hard across the face. Hot and shocked, Amara held her cheek, feeling the sting of the slap and the weight of all the months of mistreatment. Tears filled her eyes as she looked at Obinna. "I can't do this anymore. I am leaving." Obinna's face lit up with satisfaction. "Good. Go back to your parents where you belong. I never wanted you here." Amara walked to her room, tears streaming down her face. She packed her bags, her heart heavy with a mix of sorrow and relief. As she was about to leave, she took one last look at the house that was supposed to be her home. Ngozi and Obinna watched her go. They were happy, thinking they had finally rid themselves of Amara. But as Amara walked away, she felt a strange sense of freedom. She had endured so much pain and humiliation, and now she was taking the first step towards reclaiming her life. Amara walked to her auntie's house with her heart heavy. Her father's sister, Auntie Chioma, welcomed her with opened arms and listened as Amara relayed everything she had endured. Auntie Chioma felt a deep sorrow for her niece and a burning anger towards Obinna and Ngozi. When Auntie Chioma called Amara's father to inform him of what had happened, he refused to believe her. Obinna had already called, spinning a web of lies to paint Amara as the villain. Amara's father ordered her to return to Obinna's house immediately. Auntie Chioma, however, was not one to back down easily. "Amara would stay here with me," she declared firmly. She had suffered enough. "I won't go back there, Auntie. I'd rather die," Amara said firmly, tears streaming down her face. Auntie Chioma hugged her tightly. "Then you will stay here with me, Amara. We will figure this out together." Determined to put her life back on track, Amara focused on her education. She took the necessary exams, scored high, and applied for medicine at one of the best universities. Her hard work paid off. She was accepted. Over the next 6 years, Amara threw herself into her studies. She excelled in her classes, earning top grades, and at the age of 24, she graduated as a doctor. She secured a position at one of the biggest and best hospitals in Umueze. Her carriage and appearance transformed. She was now a mature, beautiful, and confident woman. Her exposure to the medical field and her dedication had shaped her into a highly respected professional. Every man who met Amara wanted to be with her, but she always turned them down. "I am married," she would say, even though her marriage was in name only. Despite her marriage, she was still a virgin. Meanwhile, Obinna continued his life with Ngozi. Despite their apparent happiness, they faced their own set of problems. Obinna could not take Ngozi to his family because his father would not approve. Chief Okafor had made it clear that Obinna needed to go back and get his wife, but Obinna was stubborn, preferring to live his life on his own terms. During the 6 years apart from Amara, he never get to know what was going on in her life or how much she had changed. One day, Chief Okafor called Obinna into his office. "Obinna, it's been 6 years. You need to bring Amara back. You promised her father, and this family needs to honor that promise." Obinna signed, frustration evident on his face. "But Dad, things are different now. Amara and I, we can't be together. You will bring her back, Obinna. This is not just about you. It's about our families, our honor. You will go and find her, Chief Okafor ordered. Chief Okafor had been battling high blood pressure for some time, and one day his condition worsened. He was admitted to one of the hospitals at Umueze, where Amara worked as a doctor. As fate would have it, Amara was one of the doctors assigned to his case. When Chief Okafor regained consciousness and recognized her, he was astonished by how much she had changed. "Amara, is that you?" he asked, his voice weak but full of amazement. "Yes, Dad, it's me," Amara replied with a gentle smile. She took care of him diligently, ensuring he received the best treatment possible. Chief Okafor was filled with pride and gratitude for her. Whenever Obinna came to visit his father, Amara made sure to avoid him, slipping out of the room before he arrived. Chief Okafor, sensing the tension, never mentioned her to his son. As Chief Okafor's health improved, he had a heartfelt conversation with Amara. "Amara, I am so proud of you. You have become a remarkable woman. You are the only one who is truly good for my son. Ngozi is only after his money. I cannot force you, but I would be happy if you went back to him." Amara shook her head. "Daddy, I cannot go back to that life. I have worked too hard to rebuild myself." Chief Okafor sighed, understanding her reluctance. "I understand, Amara, but do me this one favor. I have a plan. Go back to my son for this last time. I want you to teach Obinna and Ngozi a lesson and indirectly get the divorce you desire." Amara looked at him, intrigued. "What do you mean, Dad?" Chief Okafor explained. "Appear as Obinna's wife again. Attend social gatherings together. I have written in my will that my son will not receive any of my inheritance until after 10 years of marriage. I am telling you this because you are a good girl. My son will never divorce you if he learns of this clause, which would tie you down, but this can be used to teach them both a lesson." Amara was amazed by Chief Okafor's plan. The idea of showing Ngozi that she was no longer the timid girl she could push aside appealed to her. She thought about it and agreed. "All right, Dad, I will do it. I will teach them both a lesson." Obinna attended a high-profile wedding on behalf of his father. Amara had been among the crowd, waiting for him to arrive. As soon as he stepped out of the car, she appeared from nowhere, took his hand and gave him a peck on the cheek, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Obinna was shocked and surprised, but managed to act normal because of the reporters present. The reporters swarmed them, curious about Amara's sudden appearance. "It's been a while since we saw you at gatherings with your husband," one reporter said. Amara smiled gracefully. "I have been busy with my studies. I am now a medical doctor." Obinna's eyes widened in disbelief. He did not believe her, but he couldn't deny how much she had changed. She looked prettier, more confident, and more exposed to the world. His mind raced as he worried about Ngozi's reaction. She was on her way to join him and wouldn't be happy to see them together. After they had sat down, he leaned over and whispered angrily, "What do you think you are doing?" Amara replied calmly, "I am just taking my place as your wife and not the mistress you have been parading around as me." He wanted to lash out at her, but remembered they were in public. Ngozi arrived and was furious at the sight of Amara sitting beside Obinna. "Obinna, tell her to leave," Ngozi demanded. Amara turned to her with a smile. "I should leave my husband's side for you. As what? His mistress?" Ngozi's face turned red with anger, and she was ready to lash out. Obinna quickly intervened, taking Ngozi aside and begging her to leave to avoid escalating the situation in front of everyone. Ngozi stormed off angrily. When the wedding was over, Amara held Obinna's hands as they walked to the car. She got into the car with him, and once they were alone, Obinna turned to her, his face twisted with anger and confusion. "What are you up to, Amara? And what lies did you tell the reporters about being a doctor? Someone as dull and timid as you can never be a doctor." Amara smiled, and instructed the driver to pull over. She got out of the car without answering him, walked to where her own car was parked and drove off, leaving Obinna fuming and utterly baffled by her transformation. Meanwhile, Obinna was met with Ngozi's wrath when he got home. What was Amara doing there, she demanded. Obinna begged and pleaded. I don't know what Amara is up to, I swear. Please, Ngozi, calm down. I had to promise to get her an expensive gift before she would let it go. Meanwhile, Amara reported everything to Chief Okafor at the hospital. He was delighted that his plan was working. Amara made it a point to always appear at gatherings where Obinna was invited, claiming her rightful place as his wife. This only fueled Ngozi's anger more. One day, Obinna decided to follow Amara. He trailed her to the hospital where she worked. To his surprise, it was the same hospital his father had been admitted to. Still in disbelief, he asked the receptionist about her. Is Dr. Amara Okafor available? He asked, trying to hide his shock. The receptionist nodded. Yes, but she's busy attending to patients right now. You will have to wait. Obinna waited the entire day. When he finally saw Amara, she looked exhausted but composed. Obinna, I am tired. I need to go home. I have work tomorrow. I am not like your jobless wife, she said curtly. Obinna clenched his fist in anger but restrained himself. He knew causing a scene wouldn't help. She walked out on him, leaving him standing there, feeling humiliated and confused. Determined to get answers, Obinna returned the next day and the day after that before Amara finally gave him her attention. What do you want, Obinna? She asked, her tone cold and detached. Why are you doing this, Amara? Why are you back after so long? Obinna demanded. I want a divorce, Amara replied firmly. I can't give you that until my father passes away, Obinna said. Are you trying to tie me down for your selfish reasons? Amara retorted. Obinna narrowed his eyes. Why are you so desperate to get a divorce? Have you gotten someone else? Amara raised an eyebrow. What if I have? A flash of jealousy crossed Obinna's face. Don't go messing around with other men and soil my name. At least wait until the divorce is over. Amara smiled. So now you are worried about your name, Obinna. You should have thought about that before treating me the way you did. She walked away, leaving Obinna with a mix of anger and a strange, unfamiliar feeling of jealousy. He left the hospital, his mind racing with thoughts of Amara's transformation and the possibility that she might actually have found someone else. This realization unsettled him more than he cared to admit. Amara decided to take her plan a step further. She moved back into their home. When the maids began bringing her boxes in, Ngozi's face turned red with anger. You have no right to be here, Amara, Ngozi screamed. Amara calmly turned to her. I have no right, you see. And you do? I am still Obinna's wife, legally and traditionally. This is my home, not yours. Obinna walked in. What is going on here? Amara looked him in the eye. I have moved back in, Obinna. We are still married, and until we are officially divorced, I will live here. Also, Obinna, you and your wife will have to leave the master bedroom for me and move into a smaller room. Secondly, if you or your so-called wife as much as yell at me or try to raise your hands on me, I will let the whole world know you have a mistress living in your home. Ngozi's eyes widened in disbelief. You can't do this, she screamed. Amara looked at her with cold determination. I can and I will. You have no idea who you are dealing with now, Ngozi. Obinna tried to intervene. Amara, let's not escalate this. Can we talk about this calmly? Amara shook her head. There is nothing to talk about, Obinna. You made your choices. Now you will live with the consequences. Ngozi looked at Obinna, expecting him to throw Amara out, but Obinna was silent, conflicted by the situation. Realizing that Obinna wouldn't stand up for her, Ngozi stormed off to pack her things and move to another room. Amara smiled inwardly, knowing that her presence would cause a rift between them. Obinna watched helplessly as his life seemed to spiral out of control. He knew Amara meant every word she said, and the thought of their dirty laundry being aired in public terrified him. That night, Amara settled into the master bedroom, reclaiming her space and asserting her authority. Obinna and Ngozi were left to adjust to this new reality, knowing that Amara was no longer the timid girl they once knew. She was now a force to be reckoned with, and they had no choice but to comply with her demands. The next day, Amara decided to exert her newfound authority further. She ordered the maids to serve fruit for breakfast for everyone. Ngozi arrived at the dining table, her anger bubbling over at the sight of Amara sitting there calmly enjoying her breakfast. Ngozi screamed and turned to the maids. "Where is my food? Why am I being served fruits?" The maid, looking nervous, replied, "No, madam," said, "that's what everyone will be having for breakfast." Ngozi's face turned red with rage. "What is this nonsense? Obinna, come here." Watch out for the second part, where Amara's reign of terror intensifies, making Obinna and Ngozi's lives a living hell. Stay tuned. If you have enjoyed our story, please consider liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click on the notification bell so you never miss out on more captivating stories like this one. Thank you for watching.